Are you finding yourself obsessed with lives that you're going to go into and argue because the host doesn't share your point of view? I'm looking at you, MAGA, coming into liberal lives. Have you stepped back and wondered why you're subjecting yourself to that type of anxiety and stress, that anger or maybe self-righteous high? It's a form of validation seeking. And I think it's really important that you understand why you're seeking validation. Let me give you an example. So like today I was in a live and someone came in and he was complaining that we had nothing nice to say about President Trump. Personally, President Trump is now my president. So I have every right to have an opinion. I have every right to share that opinion with my friends in this live. But this gentleman came up and he was screaming and yelling at everybody and calling them names and all this other stuff. Like, you know, you would think this guy had a cutout of Donald Trump next to his bed or something. When you are going into these lives, specifically lives that do not hold your points of view, and you're in a position of power. When I say power, I'm talking about that your candidate has won. That's all there's to it. Like, he won. There's nothing left for you to prove. He won. Why do you feel it's necessary to come in alive with just liberals talking amongst each other about their concerns about the policies he's implementing? You won. It doesn't matter what we think or say or talk about because you won. Why is it not enough that your president won? Why aren't you hanging out in other MAGA lives and celebrating with everybody? You should be. You won. Why are you subjecting yourself to uncomfortable conversations that you don't agree with? Could it be that maybe you have a strong case of cognitive dissonance that you're trying to work through? And when you're in the echo chamber of just the MAGA-only lives, you don't have a very good feeling or a confident feeling like you thought you would? So even though you're coming in resisting everything we're talking about, you're listening. And you're finding yourself get upset listening. That's what cognitive dissonance does. It's your mental warning signals going, my perceptions are wrong. Something doesn't compute with what I thought I knew. Literally, that is what's happening. Because Donald Trump doesn't need you to defend him. You don't need to defend your vote. You won. But yet you're still obsessed with hearing opposite viewpoints instead of hanging out with your buddies, celebrating. This is cognitive dissonance. Up here is giving you a psychological response saying something's not adding up. Because you won. So what does it matter what we talk about? And that's because you need validation that you were right. But unfortunately, you can't dispel everything that we're saying. Or you wouldn't be so obsessed with listening to us talk about it. Because deep down, your meat juice is up here saying, 404, 404, 404. You know, I had a similar experience when I was growing up. I was, as you know, I'm an atheist. But as a young child, I could not get confirmation of my feelings and my faith in my God that I have. Like, I'd go to church, I supported the church, and I prayed every night, and I did everything I was supposed to, but it wasn't enough. So yeah, I needed validation. So what did I do? I sought out the polar opposite of God, kind of like you hanging out in the liberal lives. Yeah, I tried to get the devil to punish me, because if I could prove the devil was real, God was real. You're seeking validation for your vote because apparently winning wasn't enough. Hearing your talking points over and over again isn't enough. That's cognitive dissonance. I would recommend that if you don't want to have that uncomfortable feeling, set a true standard of evidence and be honest with yourself. What would I need to see to change my perceptions about what Trump said? Like, if you don't believe he said he was going to be a dictator, you could literally go and Google video of Donald Trump claiming he will become a dictator. These are the types of steps you need to take if you want to feel completely valid in your vote for Trump. You don't need to go to liberal lives and argue with us. Go research everything that he says. Go do your own research of everything Donald Trump says. Go beyond your usual news sources, because clearly, if you're seeking validation in liberal live streams, you're not happy with your news sources. You don't need to go to our sources, because we personally already know, we're not going to convince you otherwise. You have to satisfy your own confidence, your own faith in your choice. And we can't do that for you. And we're not going to help you find that, because it's going to be a bottomless pit that you can't fill until you fucking do it yourself. Otherwise, yes, for the next 4 years, you're just going to be perpetually floating from liberal live stream to liberal live stream, just debating and arguing for validation. When all you got to do is just go research the man. Go find that faith to give you the validity for your vote. That's all you got to do. You don't need us because you won. Go find your validation.